Good evening, everyone. This is Deidre with Are You a CPS Victim Like Me? I apologize to any of my repeat viewers, but usually I have my show on Wednesdays at 5 p.m., but had some scheduling conflicts for this week. So here I am today on a Thursday at 5 p.m. So, again, for any new viewers out there, I do this show under an attorney that is a CPS juvenile child defense attorney that practices out of Southern California, and his name is Mr. Vincent W. Davis. And I basically do these shows to get hopefully the word out for anybody that isn't familiar with the corruption of CPS and family courts, that hopefully maybe one of these videos will catch a family and prevent, the horrific things that they do to families and taking their kids and adopting them out, or just never having their child be returned to them. So again, anybody interested to come on my show in the future, you can always call the 888 number on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and my producer will get you set up for any one of my upcoming shows. For any repeat viewers that have watched my show before, I think last week I had on a guest, and her name was Danny, and she was, or she is, a member of the Family Fraud Court Warrior Project, if I said that correctly. And my guest this evening is also a member of that project, which is ran by Dave Weigel, which I also had on my show about a couple months now ago. And so not only is he a parent that has been affected through, I believe, the family court system, a little bit of CPS, but he's also a member of this project. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce him here in a second, and he's going to share his story. But then also at the end, if we have some time, it's always great to then talk about his project as well for anybody that's not familiar about it, and hopefully they can look more into it as well and see how they can also benefit from it, because I feel like his project is doing wonders in this type of field. So I don't want to take too much more time away from our guests, and I think I covered all the beginning little secretarial parts there. So Aaron, I'm so glad to have you on this evening. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and then start wherever you'd like and share your story.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. My name is Aaron Burns. I've been with the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project for, say, a couple months now, 3 months. Just joining the project has just been completely life-changing for me. Of course, I lost my daughter about 2 years ago. It wasn't through CPS, it was through a family court. But through all that time, you kind of feel like you're alone through all of this, and nobody really understands what you're going through, and it really pushes away a lot of your family and a lot of your friends. And so I'm just very thankful for finding this project, and that's one of the biggest joys I get out of it, is being able to just dive in here and be able to help other parents that are going through the exact same thing, and just kind of gives them hope again. Because sometimes you feel like all hope's lost.
Exactly. I feel like that's their number one goal. If it's family court or CPS, they feel like the more they divide, your family or your friends from you, the better off they are at doing what their narrative is, and, winning and keeping your child away from you. And I feel like, if anything, it should be the opposite. Like, we all think that it should be, but sadly, it's not, So do you want to explain a little bit how you first came in contact with, what was it, family court first?
Yeah, so let's see. I got custody of my daughter back in 2013. My ex she cut my throat. I was holding my daughter in my arms, and so I went to court. I filed for custody, and I won. And I declared her psychologically unfit to care for a child. Not to mention, she abuses her medications and whatnot. So about a couple months after that, we were going back for my last court date, and my ex, she had supervised visits with me, and she just kept pulling the routine, I'm going to change, and, just sobbing all the time. And I fell for it. So against my attorney's advice, I switched to shared parenting. I wanted to believe that, I'm a firm believer in second chances. I haven't always been an angel myself either. I've had my rough times, but I see it in everybody. They're able to turn it around as long as there's self-discipline involved. And, you just got to want it bad enough. So, yeah, I switched from full custody to shared parenting. And then, it was just the worst mistake of my life. Ever since then, my life has just been a complete nightmare. So about summer of 2023, I got finally sick and tired of all the harassment, of all the crap I was going through. So I decided to relocate from Ohio down to Florida. I was facing constant harassment from her family and the police department. They gave her a restraining order that only went one way. Basically, she was allowed to come around me and harass me and do whatever she wanted to me. But if I was to even turn around and look at her, I would go to jail. And that's what happened every single time. They bring me up on domestic violence charges twice, and they tried to put me in jail, but I beat it both times. So whenever
you moved away from her, but then they got a restraining order against you.
Yes.
Wow. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Yeah, and I filed everything in court that I was supposed to. The motion to terminate the shared parenting plan, the motion to relocate, did everything I was supposed to do. And basically, I was just trying to file for contempt. I was told by the judge back in 2013 that if she doesn't comply with any of the court's orders, which she didn't comply with any of them, she saw a psychological evaluation, which declared her bipolar and severe depression. And she was supposed to get her medications reevaluated and changed, and she didn't do any of this stuff. She was supposed to get, housing for her and her kids, a safe place for her kids to go to. She didn't do that. And then basically this new judge kind of overrode all that and just said, well, we don't care what that judge said. We're going to give the child to her anyway. I went through 3 attorneys through it. And basically, just as I paid a retainer, they all threw me under the bus. And this was a case I should have needed an attorney for. There was an incident at my home in 2022, in August 2022, where she showed up at the house. She hadn't been involved in the child's life for like the previous 2 years, 2 to 3 years. Once in a while here, but very vague. She would just show up whenever she wanted to. And that's basically what she did that day. She showed up that day and said she was taking a child that day. And my mom went outside to try to just smooth it over, to say, just go home. We don't want to deal with this right now. My mom was up visiting from Florida. She had stage 4 kidney failure. We were trying to figure out, the best ways to try to get her, the treatment that she needed. And she just missed her granddaughter. She wanted to see her. And she just didn't want any kind of drama while she was there. So she went out there and she just politely asked her to leave. And then she got out of her car to try to attack my mother. And this would be the second time she tried to, the first time she did assault her. This would have been the second time she tried to assault her. My mom came running into the house, and I came out of the house with a baseball bat, and I asked her to get in the car and leave. She refused to do it. She came at me, so I took the baseball bat and I busted out one of the windows. The vehicle, I realized it's probably not the best way to go about it, but I needed to raise some kind of awareness to what was going on. With this 10 years of this, it's going to stop now. I did not have any intentions of hurting her. If I wanted to hurt her, I could have, but that was not my intention. My intention was just scare her enough to get her to leave. And so she left, and she went down to the police department, and they came back up, and we went through that whole thing, and they ended up trying to hit me with domestic violence and criminal damaging. We went to court for that. And so while we're in a courtroom, they put me on, they call it court TV there, where the judge, they put you on camera and they kind of air it for the whole county to see. So for, the whole day of them bashing me, calling me a woman beater, they said I was abusing my mother, abusing my child. They made me out to just be this complete monster that I wouldn't even want to know, let alone be. So, after I got sick and tired of it, I was like, well, if you guys want to know the truth, just look at the tape. And they all just kind of looked at me funny, like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, the live feed that the police department had pointed right up towards my house, they didn't know I knew about it. I actually found it by accident. I was hooking up a Chromecast in my daughter's room, and I was sitting there looking at the Wi-Fi, and the police department's Wi-Fi showed up on it. So I kind of went outside and followed the signal, and I get up there, and I see it's the camera in my neighbor's house pointed directly at my house. So when we went to court that day, I was just like, if you guys want to know the truth, just look at the tape. So they're looking at me confused. I'm like, the live feed you have pointed towards my house. So the very next day, everything was completely dismissed, dropped. They were legally surveilling my house. They say it's not illegal for them to have a camera pointed at my house, but it has to be pointed towards the front of my house. For some reason, they had it pointed towards the side of my house, towards my daughter's bedroom window, which I found it really weird. But yeah, of course, everything was dismissed that day. Everything was dropped. At the very same time this was all going on, I was going down to family court and I filed 2 contempts. Both were dismissed without me even being able to see a judge. So after the second one's dismissed, the very next day after that case was dismissed in the other court, she went down to family court, and this time she changed the story around, saying that my child was in the car, that I tried to attack my child with a baseball bat, that I did attack her with the baseball bat. And this was a case that I went into. I was like, I don't even need a lawyer for this. I mean, we've already been through this. If you guys want to know the proof, just look at this tape right now. And they refused to look at it. Dragged me through a long custody battle, which ended up costing me about $110,000. Basically sold my house to pay for it. And they overrode everything. They would not even let me in the courtroom to even say what I needed to say. And they awarded her custody.
After the case was already dismissed because of the video, now all of a sudden they don't want to look at the video, and then they want to go with the whole narrative of what this mother is now saying, which already has been dismissed because of the proof of the video.
Yeah.
Wow. And so they completely took away all custody from you and gave her full custody?
Yeah, they gave her full custody. I'm still allowed to have visitation with her, but I'm not even allowed to talk to the child. And then she goes and tells the court that I'm not exercising my parenting rights.
Make sense.
Yeah.
How can you exercise parenting rights if you're not allowed to talk to your child?
Right. Well, she actually let her fly down here. She let her come down just this past summer for the month of July. I got her for 3 weeks. And the first week, she spent the whole week with her on the phone, making her feel guilty for not being up there in Ohio while her mother is up there dying of cancer. Like, my daughter's going to go up there and like lay her healing hand on her head and say, "You're healed." They were calling her, making her feel guilty the whole time. So I took the phone away from her. And it's like, you know what, we're not going to do this. You're in my house under my rules. You're not going to do this. We're going to go out. We're going to have fun. We're going to go to the beach. We live in Daytona Beach now. So I live like right across the street from the beach. That's, there's always something going on in Daytona. Every night we're doing something. We're going to play golf with the water park. I mean, it was always something. And for the first week, it was bad. And then the second week, it was kind of iffy. But the third week, it was just, we were right back to where we was. I had my best friend back. And
she probably didn't want to go back,
great.
huh?
Yeah. Yeah, she did. She wanted to go back. She really missed her grandmother, and felt bad for not being there still. And but she's been so coerced into hating me now that it's I can't even explain it. I can't even understand what's going on, because for the first 10 years of my life, or my daughter's life, me and her were like this, inseparable every single day. I was not away from her for more than 24 hours in the last 10 years.
I almost think that, parental alienation is just as worse as like this CPS type of corruption. It's like, where did they ever really think that the child is benefiting from either what the other parent is doing in your example or what CPS does to these children? But yet they always want to make it seem like whatever they are doing is in the best interest of the child, when in fact it's the opposite. Right. I mean, and I think I saw a picture of your daughter. She like literally looks like the spitting image of you. Meaning your ex probably hates the fact that she has to look at her every day and see you in her. But I mean, my gosh, it's just like your little.
I said the exact same thing. I was like, why would you even want to look at her? I mean, it's like looking at me every single day.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be so hard. So even though the court said that you're allowed visitation, there's really no like enforcement that really she's to be held by as far as allowing this visitation to actually play out. Well,
she's breaking every single order of the court.
Yeah, true. I mean, you've already said that.
Orders, but yeah, I mean, she's broken everything. And whenever we went to court, they told her that she was supposed to do like a list of these things. She hasn't done any of them. And I was thinking about it last night. And everybody keeps asking me, why don't you just go back and file for another contempt? And I just keep thinking to myself, that's just the definition of insanity. To keep doing the same acts over and over.
Expecting something different.
Right.
But then again, it's like it's your child, and that you have like the love for her that you feel like you can't obviously give up. But then it's like where we're always left. What is the parent supposed to do? I mean, they just literally grab you by anything that they can and get you to this point where you are so helpless and you don't know what to do. But at the same time, you're yearning for your child's love and presence that you know that your child is probably also wanting just as bad. But
Right.
I just can't believe that it started out with you basically having, full custody. And then again, you being the person with the heart and knowing that every child should really have both parents in their life and that that's what ends up happening. Then you get burned and then you get even more burned by now not having any basically contact with your daughter. So basically the last time she was with you and she had to leave, did she kind of feel like she knew that she didn't know when she'd see you again type of thing? Or it wasn't
Well, we
really like
talked.
talked about?
Well, we talked. I mean, for the first 2 years since her mother was awarded custody, haven't been able to talk to her at all. Um, like the only talking I was able to talk to her through was text messaging, so her mother could, kind of monitor it all. Because my daughter was telling me things about them that she wasn't supposed to be telling me, something that could
Yeah.
really get the mother in trouble. So
Wow.
after that, our contact was limited to only text messaging, and half the time it was either her mother or her sister on the phone pretending to be her, trying to get a rise out of me, trying to get me to say something stupid. And I could totally tell, like, after you're talking with somebody for 10 years, you notice the little things like slang words that they use. You're not talking to your daughter. You're
Yeah.
talking to somebody else. So,
Wow.
but
As of right
yeah,
now, do you
whenever.
have any? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, whenever she's getting ready to leave, I was like, okay, so are we gonna be able to go back to how it was? Are we gonna be able to have the regular contact? Can I call you? And she's like, yeah, everything was fine whenever she left. And then 2 days after she got there, I got a text from her sister saying that they're blocking all contact because I took her phone away. I failed her in every way. I'm the worst father ever. Going on and on and on. And this is from her sister, one of the children I helped raise. That actually the responsibility of those two kids fell on my lap because their dad was not a part of their lives. And whenever her mother and I split, of course the other two children had to go with her. And she just doesn't feel that, I don't know if she's still heard about, because she
Yeah.
seen me to be this amazing father to my daughter and not the same way to her. And it certainly was not my intention. I even told her since like the day they left, I was like, you guys ever need anything, you call me. I will be there. And that's the way it's always
Sadly, though, the
been.
mother has controlled all of that, as you can see. And so maybe this is their way of kind of taking it out on your daughter because they're kind of upset that they have now lost all options of having you still be in their life. And, obviously they lost their father figure when, you guys split up, which is so unfortunate because, again, now those children are, losing out in this whole situation.
Right.
And this mother, I mean, I don't know how people like that can go to bed every night knowing what they're doing to their children and the children's other parent, meaning these kids get brought into the life of not getting to choose their parents. So why should they have to suffer with now not getting a relationship with one parent just because the other one now is divorced and obviously doesn't care for that person? I mean, it's still their father or mother.
Right.
So where do you stand at this point other than feeling like you would just keep getting the same results if you try to do something more? I think you mentioned in your story to me in the beginning that you kind of wished or you did have CPS get involved because you thought that they could help you, but then they totally just dropped the ball as well? Or what
Yeah,
happened
this
there?
is actually one of those cases where I've actually been encouraging CPS to get involved because the level of care that's going on there is just not up to par. I don't feel for anybody's standards. We've been noticing a bunch of pictures posted online of my daughter being raised in a bar. They're trying to turn her into a professional pool player. So they've got her entering her in all these different tournaments all around in every single bar in the county. She's drinking, she's smoking weed. She's 12 years old.
Wow.
And she's been told by, whenever I went to court for our case, we saw a total of 6 different judges. And 4 of them told her, do not have that child in a bar. And she still, to this day, she acts like she's above the law. So she just posts the pictures and all this stuff on social media just to show, look, I'm above the law. I'm going to get away with doing whatever I want to do. So, yeah, I've actually been trying to encourage CPS to get involved in this, and they're refusing to even do their jobs at this point. I've contacted even the ombudsman in Ohio, and they don't want to do anything. So I have a couple alternative routes I'm looking to take that are I don't really want to talk about right now.
Yeah.
Dave and I have been, kind of going back and forth on ideas here and there, but I think we're getting a good plan of attack going. So I feel really
I mean,
confident and
it's
good about
crazy
this.
because again, it goes back to the fact of CPS is supposed to be protecting children in situations like this. And aren't they supposed to like basically investigate every call that kind of comes in, no matter if it's true or not? But it's like when you have all the proof and the evidence, the more evidence that you have, it's almost like they do exactly what they're doing. They want nothing to do with it. And you're almost like thinking, wait a minute here, what are you guys supposed to be doing? Because you don't clearly take the children that need to be taken out of abused or neglected situations, but then they take all the children that never should be removed. And
Right, exactly.
this is just a clear example of that. But does she have any kind of connections with attorneys or like anybody in the court system that might be all playing to her favor?
Yeah, it's a small town, Canton, Ohio. Basically, if you went to high school there and kind of grew up there, you kind of know everybody, one of those type things. But her brother-in-law is his grandfather was a police captain with the police department there, and he was murdered inside his own home. So it's like one of those things that if you ever need anything, you come to us. So the police corruption in this runs very, very deep, and we're on the verge of uncovering all that. Whenever she cut my throat, she was taken to Stark County Jail, and booked into jail. And then they went down there and they got her out 2 days later. And everything got lost on the way to the prosecutor's office. So we're on the verge of uncovering that because it's not up to these cops to play judge and jury. It's just up to them to do their job and send it over to the courts and let them do their job. And for what they did, they actually had to get the approval of the attorney general. And I've spoken to the attorney general, and they never got any kind of approval for them. So,
I mean, that's attempted murder. You might as well say.
Yeah. The only reason I'm still alive here to this day is because she grabbed a butter knife. So it left a mark across my throat, but it wasn't deep enough to actually really do any damage. But I mean, I was still bleeding, had a little slit.
But you come out with a baseball bat on video and hit clearly just her windows with nobody inside of it. And that gets flipped on you, but her doing what she did to you, and now it's all apparently lost.
Well, they've been trying for 10 years to get me brought up on domestic violence charges so she can move into my house and I would be living on the streets and having to pay her child support. That was their plan. Like literally, they would allow her to come to my house, or anybody for that reason, come to my house and do whatever, rob me, break into my house, assault me. I can't tell you how many times I've been fighting people off my front doorsteps. I actually had a 2x4 busted over the side of my head in 2017. Almost had my eye knocked out. And then the police showed up and they took me to jail for trying to get somebody out of my home. And then on the way to the jail, that police officer, he stopped and he got me out of the car and he took me out of cuffs and he gave me a cigarette. He's like, here, you're going to need one of these because you're going to be in there for a couple of days. And I want to tell you, man, you got to get your family and you got to get out of here. If you don't, you're going to end up in prison and you're going to end up dead because they're not going to stop until one of those two happens. And you just get an attorney. I didn't want to arrest you tonight, but I was being forced. A call came from higher up, and I'm being forced to do this. And I just want to apologize to you and say I'm sorry. And I thank you for that. The honesty that cop gave me that day, because that's exactly what I did after that. I packed up and I left.
Wow, that's crazy.
Ever since I got down here to Florida, ever since I got down here to Florida, everything's been great. People are looking at me like the kind of person that the person they see in front of them, not the person that they heard from, somebody's cousins, brothers, narcissistic friend or whatever, whenever the police came down here, they actually called the cops on me whenever my daughter was visiting here. And they actually flew down here and tried to kidnap her one day when they were thinking I was going to be at work. And I called off that day. And then they called the police on me because I wasn't allowing them to take my daughter. And it was two, male cops that showed up, and they're just like, man, they were both dads, and they felt so bad for me, and they let my daughter stay. They didn't take her from me, and they judged the person that was in front of them, not the person that they heard about. So like even when I walked out of the house, I even put my hands out like this, like I was ready to get put in cuffs, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm sorry, I forgot where I'm at."
Do you mind me asking how many times I've been arrested? Do you mind me asking how many years you were with your ex before you started to see any and all of this and decided to break up?
We were only together for about, I want to say, 3 months after we found out she was pregnant.
Oh,
That's whenever I found out it was between me and two other guys. One of them was her cousin.
oh,
Um, so I kept her, I kept her close because she was threatening a miscarriage if I did not keep her close by and take care of her and her other two kids. So that's what I did. I kept her close, and then as soon as I was able to get my daughter out safely, I told it's time for you to go.
wow, man. I mean, wow, it's just, again, nothing surprises me nowadays, but when you have such horrific, non-stop, never-ending cases like yours, it's just like, I mean, I give you props for obviously not giving up, but it's like, man, how much more can you endure? And yet you're not even the one doing any and all of it. It's like, what does she really have out against you? Does she want to just take you out of this world or what? I mean, my gosh.
It's all about the money to her. She's all about just trying to get a bunch of money out of me. I mean, that's all it will ever be. She has another son too that she completely abandoned. She said that he couldn't come live with her at their new place, but this is whenever she got custody of my daughter, she can come live with there because their dad got some kind of, I don't know what he did, but he got it to where he doesn't have to pay child support at all anymore. So they said that he couldn't come live with them, but my daughter can because they can get a check out of me. So to this day,
Wow.
the son, we're trying to get a hold of the son now because to this day he wants nothing to do with her. So we're trying to get him up and get him talking.
Yeah. I mean, and it is your daughter's sibling, then you might as well think of it. So, I mean, that's another broken bond that, is being caused by this mother. But so as of right now, you don't even know when and if you'll see your daughter again?
Right now, I'm being told never again.
Really?
So yeah, they say that she wants nothing to do with me, but it's just nothing but coercive control. She doesn't want to be, which I get it. She doesn't want to be the odd man out. She doesn't afraid she's going to be punished. For standing up for me, which she will. She'll be physically abused if she does.
It's horrible.
So I get, yeah. But I don't know. Like I said, yeah, we got some other things in the works, and I refuse to give up. But I mean, that's what I love about the Warrior Project so much, because for the longest time, I gave up hope. I really did. I mean, I was on the verge of committing suicide. They stole the joys of being a father away from me. That's the only thing I ever wanted. That's what saved me from the kind of person I used to be. And
Yeah.
luckily, by the grace of God, I haven't gone back to it, and I refuse to it. But I mean,
No, you
really
can't,
feel
because honestly, I always say this, and I feel like or somebody said it once before, and then I always have kind of believed in it. And the fact that as much as we are hurting as parents with like our children being separated from us, deep down inside, our kids are hurting that much more. And our kids really need us more than we will ever need them. And it's weird to think of it that way, but really, it is. And meaning, if you even feel like you have no hope left, just you always have to remember that your child is still out there needing us more than we need them. And so, I mean, even if you have to wait to think that they're going to turn 18 and be able to come and find you, I mean, still, it's like, at least you know that you have that option left open for them. But I mean, man, I know every day it's like you can't stop thinking about your child and thinking how much they probably want to see you and be around you, but know that they're just so helpless because of what they're going through on their end. And it just, the rage and everything. But maybe this is a time that we can introduce and talk a little bit about, for anybody that hasn't heard about Dave's project, and maybe a little bit more, since you're one of the administrators, to talk about if anybody wants to become a part of it, and a little bit about the point of it and the successes maybe already about it, if you don't mind.
No, it's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we've been having a lot of successes lately, and the numbers are. I mean, we started off kind of slow, but the numbers are starting to grow, and people are starting to see the difference. And we're doing things. We're taking such a unique approach that none of these other groups are really taking. I mean, nothing against them. I think they're all great groups. I mean, I feel that we're all kind of feuding right now. It seems like people are kind of going back and forth between all these advocacy groups, but I mean, we all have the same enemy, and we're all moving in the same direction. And I hope one day we just can all kind of squash that and just come together and realize who the real enemy is.
Really. But no, I think Dave, I think I've said this before last week when I had Danny on. I mean, I found Dave through another person that I used to do shows on under this attorney's platform, and his name is Darren Guy, and he had on Dave on his podcast one night, and man, all Dave had to say was something about him being a part of Wall Street, and caught my eye or my ear, and then the next thing was the statement of, I didn't want to take my ball and go home too, or something like that. And I was like, wow. Number one, he's going to get the attention of people that would normally not give us the time of day, because they're just going to think we're another parent that just wants to, you know, complain or say, you know, look what's happening to me. But, you know, they would give him the time of day to listen to him because he's from Wall Street. But then also the fact that he's the fiduciary and into all of the fraud seeking. And then to know that he had such a horrific, long family court case, and how he explained all the things that happened to him. And when I think the other part was when that day that he said he got gutter served, and he stayed up 2 nights in a row to get all of like basically the lies documented and submitted. And he walked into court like feeling all proud, you know, like I have 160 something documents that I submitted. And the judge just kind of looked at him and said, you stupid mother effer. Like, basically, we are playing you to the fullest. And that's when it finally, I think he said, set in, like, this is not even a court of law. Like, this is a whole nother, like, board game. They're playing chess, I'm playing checkers, you know? And then it was just like, it finally hit him that it's like, how can you really go into court trying to do anything by law or anything by the standards of what should happen in court when really they don't do anything of that? If anything, it's like what people have called like a circus, you know? It's basically whatever their narrative is, and that's what it's going to be, no matter if you have the best attorney in the world or you have all the evidence in the world. If you're not who they want to, you know, have the child placed with, it's like Dave even said one time too, he's like, we almost found out that maybe if you come off as the abuser, that you might actually have a better chance at getting the kid back, because that's who they always place the kid with, is the abusers.
Right.
And it's just, but no, a little bit more about Dave's project is the fact that maybe you want to say it about how, like, literally what it is that people are doing to kind of prove that, you know, it's used as a public ledger, and it's all about, you know, the truth and transparency of people's cases, and how, you know, eventually that's how it's getting people to either have judges be recused or cases dismissed because they don't want to be called out for all the fraud that they're basically committing, you know?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that kind of drew me to the Warrior Project is, I mean, you mentioned all those things about being a fiduciary, being Wall Street, this and that. He's obviously had some sex. I mean, he's done something right. And the fact that he's out here helping all these people, he could have took his ball and go home, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what I have so much enormous respect for the guy, that he's still out here. You know, he's helping families, and he doesn't need to be out here helping. You know, he's gotten his kids back, and Justin nicely too. The same thing with him. You know, he's got all 4 of his babies home. His youngest kid's he's a victim of paternity fraud. His youngest child's not even his. Wow. But he still loves that child. You know, like it's his own. And the kind of people you just meet in this project. It's just, you have such enormous respect for them, and that, you know, like I said, I might not ever see my child again, but I mean, if I can help somebody else not go through what I go through, then that gives me, you know, joy enough to keep going on at the end of the day. So,
well, and like Dave mentioned before, your child will one day maybe even come across all of this work that you're doing to prove how much not only you're yearning to be in your child's life, but to know that one day you were always fighting and never giving up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I'm afraid. I hope my daughter actually sees this one day. You know, because they're making me out to be this horrible guy that doesn't care. And it's like, if I don't care, what would I be doing here? You know, I devote, you know, if I'm not at work, I'm devoting my life to this project. You know, that's basically it for me. So,
well, I believe that you know, being in this project and having some other options be, you know, talked about, that maybe you will be another success story, hopefully, you know, not too far from now. But I definitely think that his approach, as far as waking people up, especially in family court situations where, like he says, it's usually, you know, the courts having like the parents go against each other and just draining both of them. And still at the end of the day, they both don't really win and the kids don't win. And then it's all bad news. Where CPS, it's like they come and they take your kids type of thing and make it go that way. But it was kind of ironic how not only did he let his story be, let out in the open, which he was told from every avenue not to do, that was a bad move. Your kids are going to hate you one day. But in reality, he said, what am I doing here? Am I telling the truth? Am I doing what's best for my kids? And are they really going to hate me one day if they hear me tell nothing but the truth and how much I love them and everything? And that's literally what happened. His daughter was able to finally see enough of the truth. And little did he know, she videotaped her mother and basically having her mother spill the beans of, yeah, I've been doing this all to your father. And she's like, why? It was like light bulb, And I think it's awesome that not only did he get his kids back in his life, but he almost kind of restored, not that he's back with his wife, like in a romantic relationship, but they're back cordially enough to where, like he said the other night, his wife was 20 feet away, or ex-wife was 20 feet away from him cooking dinner for their kids while he's doing the show, meaning she's just as much now involved in the kid's life as he is. And that's kind of how it should be. You can have your own differences, but at the end of the day, the children need both parents as long as they are, loving and caring and have the best interest for their kids. I don't see why parents have to do that to each other to then just have their kids be affected,
Right. Yeah. My situation was just different. It's one of those, if I can't have them, nobody can. And, I chose, I didn't want to be with her. And then, it's kind of one of those situations that it's just too toxic. And I wish that we come some kind of terms together to where we could settle everything out of court, but there's just some cases that are just not like that. And
I think there's those certain people that have all the traits of, the narcissistic and everything that follows. I mean, they're just not quote unquote normal functioning common sense people. So as much as you think that they would not do something a certain way, they're never going to see it that way because they're just not in that mind frame. They're just out to get people like you. How many children does she have by how many different men? And yet you didn't even really know that yours was yours because it could have been two other men. I mean, it's like, ay.
Yeah, she's only, I got the paternity test back, so she's only 99.2% mine.
Well, I mean, the fact that you had to wait for the test and know that there was two other possibilities, I mean, it's just, and then to think that the courts are all in favor of her and everything that she's done wrong, she's never been held accountable for, and she obviously sees that. So it's like, again, same thing in the courts. There's no accountability for any of these people that are doing anything wrong. I mean, they have the immunity. There's no real jury trial. I mean, everything is just set up for you to fail from the start, And then a little bit about my case. I mean, I was 8 months pregnant with my third son when I seeked out help from the county, for certain instances, which then brought CPS in to, of course, interview my 5 and 6-year-old at the time by themselves. And they took a statement from my 6-year-old and ran with it. But really, little did I know, they had their eye on the real prize, which was if I had an open CPS case and I gave birth, they immediately got to take my youngest from the hospital. And then fast forward, they placed him in a foster home because my mother took my 2 older boys, but wanted nothing to do with my youngest. Because her exact words when she dropped me off at the hospital was, you better do the right thing and give this child up for adoption because look where you're at with your 2 kids now. And I'm thinking, did she just really say what she said, knowing that she raised us as Catholic? And where does it ever say anything in the Bible about basically just giving my child up because of a struggle that I got put in with my other 2? And then sure enough, they then placed my healthy, beautiful 1-month-old son in a foster couple's home that literally couldn't have kids of their own. Meaning why? Gee, I wonder why God didn't bless them. But here they found out that they could come through the county and get what they wanted. And then fast forward 2 years, that's exactly what they did. They were showing up with their own attorney now, saying that they needed to hurry this case along so they could keep their son. And almost coming out with a plea deal at one point, basically saying, we'll give you 1 more visit a year if you just sign your rights over. I'm like, is this a plea deal for my child? No, I'm not signing my rights over, but either way, they still won. And basically, I lost my youngest child that wasn't even born when this case opened, clearly of us getting them involved. So it was just all around completely corrupt. And the fact that, never do you think that this is what goes on in America every day, all day. And you're just so lost and confused until literally you're showing up to that last hearing and this is what's happening. And still to this day, it's they're Mormon, blonde haired, blue eyed, but my kid is half black and half white. So already right off the bat, he's so socially, physically, everything just not going to fit in and feel like he fits in as he's growing up. And then they did this exact same story to another little girl, Hispanic girl, and one and same whole thing. So they basically are waking up every morning thinking that they are truly living the right way, knowing that they stole two families' children for their own selfish reasons. But I mean, it is what it is, and certain permanent things get set in certain ways to where, I do still get somewhat of a contact with him up until just recently when they dropped the ball on us, letting us know that when it was his birthday in October and I was expecting to see him, that's when they dropped the ball and said, not only are you not going to see him, but we moved clear across the states and they're on the East Coast now, which I think they've always wanted to do. So again, I mean, who knows when that visit now will ever take place, but it's just so unfortunate because again, this child that wasn't even born is the child that we technically lose. I mean, I don't know. But again, it's all about the money. They get all these bonus incentives for adopting out children, when in reality, they're supposed to be getting all this Title IV funding for reunification services, meaning to reunify the child back to the parents. But that's clearly not what they do, and they just milk it for the money, and then they get that bonus incentive, and there they go,
Right.
So anyways, I mean, we could always talk about our cases till we're blue in the face and feel like, when is somebody going to wake up and realize that nobody is safe from this neither? It's really unfortunate, but, anybody could have that knock at their door, or anybody could get a call on them, and they'll never know what is about to happen until it happens. And then you just get sucked into it so fast, so quick, that it literally goes that fast and that quick. And next thing you know, you're losing your child and you're like not even knowing why. And
I'm guilty. I got to admit, I was one of those people that, I always thought if you lost your child, you had to have done something wrong.
I think every parent says
for
that,
it to
right?
happen to me, it's actually to kind of change my opinion on that. And it's sad.
And as much as you tell the people that don't really believe that still people's children can get taken for almost no reason, it's like they still want to believe everything you're saying because they feel like you're valid for like telling the truth and whatnot. But because they have never lived it, they really still can't wrap their mind around it. And they still think that there had to have been something. There had to. And it's just, they literally make not only you lose your children and everything that you feel like is important to you, but then, like you said, they take everything else away from you. My friend Darren that I talked about earlier, he said once before that it's almost like you caught the virus. Like once you're involved with CPS, it's like slowly everybody disappears. And then it's like all of a sudden you're looked at and treated like and felt like that you literally have done something so wrong that they don't want anything to do with you. And then they almost support your kids not coming home. Again, with my mom, I feel like still to this day, I'm fighting on my mom more than anything to get my own kids back home that clearly want to come back home. And they're of age to say that, 13 and 11, but she's doing anything in her power to not let that happen because she's addicted to that money that they get every month,
Right.
And that's how they sell these people and, getting these people's kids too. So it's just all around unfortunate, but I don't know if anybody's been making any comments or questions. I haven't been paying attention.
I've seen a little. I see my mom in there.
Well, shout out to your mom. That's cool.
Yeah,
anybody that's out there supporting.
Yeah, she's a victim as well. Her and my daughter they were like this, and she got taken from her too. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Funny story real quick. We have about like 15 minutes left, but to tie into that. So my mother-in-law, the paternal grandmother, when this was all happening, and of course my youngest was, in a foster placement, she came forward and basically said that she wanted to have placement of any and all of my three kids. And so they made her go through all the hoops of getting RFA approved and, all the inspections and all the different classes and whatnot. They wanted to keep giving her excuses because she was in a different county, but still, this attorney that I do the show under, he has clearly said that you can have anybody around the world be an option for placement, not even relative. It could be a family, a friend, anybody, as long as you pose them, they're supposed to like investigate and see if they could be an option. So anyways, my mother-in-law gets brought through all of that, right? To where literally at one point, I think it was listed in our court documents that never got brought up in court, but that she was already approved like for placement, but they never went forward with it. And then here we are, fast forward, and we lose our youngest to adoption. My mom still has my 2 older in the legal guardianship, and basically my case closed. All of a sudden, then my mother-in-law, because she went through all the process, she ends up then going forward with still trying to become a foster parent because she wanted to help out. And next thing you know, she's like had 4 foster kids in her care that are obviously not related to her. So she was good enough to be a foster parent to all these 4 kids that are not hers, but never good enough to have placement of her own biological grandchildren.
Right. Yeah, I
And it
thought
was
about
just,
the same way. I've gone down the same road down here. They have a couple like organizational groups, like kind of charitable groups. I think one of them is called Fatherless Movement or something like that. I've been thinking about joining, just be able to prove that point. Okay, I can be a father to somebody else that I don't even know, but I can't be a father to my own child.
yeah, it's crazy. And they could have prevented that adoption from even happening, to where my child could have stayed in his blood relatives, care. I mean, they don't even ever obviously consider what he's going to face as he gets older and realizes that, he's not with his blood relatives and what was wrong with him and why this and why that, when in reality, that was clearly not the case. But, they always want to go with wherever they make the money and whatever their narrative is. And it's never about what it should be in the kid,
Right.
But so I don't know. We have about a little over 10 minutes. Is there anything else that you wanted to maybe talk about or address to anybody out there?
I just want to circle back to the Warrior Project. I kind of got off topic with Dave, but
Yeah.
As far as the whole group goes, I really like how things are going. We're going stronger. We're getting close to about 12,000 members now. We're on our 22nd, I believe, success case. We've had people just like walking into court, just saying, I'm a member of the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project, and they're getting their kids back. And then, I mean, there's just, we're opening a store. There's just quite a big things happening lately. So I'm really excited to see what's getting ready to come. And I just urge that if you're not a member, if you never heard of it, just come over and check us out. If you
want to tell people what to do to find it, and maybe like the first couple of steps of what they would go about doing as far as being a member?
Yeah, just we head over to the Facebook page, Family Court Fraud Warrior Project. Just request to join. I'm one of the moderators. More likely, I'll approve you. So, and then after you get approved, just if you're a victim, all we ask is all new members to submit a 3 to 5 minute video. Basically just kind of telling us who you are, where you're from, where your case is from, your case number, and just kind of a brief description of, what your case is about. And then after your video gets approved, then we'll set you up for an exit interview where Dave will come through and he'll sit you down and you'll have about a whole hour to pretty much tell your story. And he'll talk about it with you and just get it up on the public ledger, on the national ledger, and just get your voice heard. And, just the fact that you heard my story was just enough for me because, nobody ever wanted to hear it. So, it's sometimes just enough for people. But, and then we're also doing the bar complaints. If we're proving to the public that all bar complaints at the bar association is pretty much just one big mafia. We're proving that, you can submit 100 bar complaints and they're never going to do anything about it. It's just all corrupt. So we were asking for everybody to come through and submit their bar complaints, judicial complaints. Trying to think what else.
Well, and the fact that
we're doing a court watching thing.
Yeah. Okay.
The court watching thing. Yeah, just going to people with court. There's power in numbers. Amy Duncan. She's one of the administrators of the Family Court Fraud Warriors. Her son got arrested on bogus charges, and they arrested him on a Friday night. 500 court fraud warriors called that police station that next day and got him released on a weekend. And that's just unheard of. So, I mean, there's power in numbers, and I like that avenue that we're getting ready to take.
It's crazy because it's really cool to see that what he's doing with his mindset and the fact that not only is he Wall Street fraud, so what he does for a living is what he's doing basically with family court and CPS, but it's almost like he says you can have 50,000 Facebook groups all trying to do the same thing, but not getting anywhere. where he might sound really like, I don't know, ego headed or something, the way that he kind of sometimes explains what his project is about. But really, if you take a step back and really listen to what he's saying, you truly only need one leader. And for all of us to follow that one leader and go in and attack, like at war, you don't need 50 leaders because it's just never going to, work. But I mean, it's obviously showing in his successes, but just simply going into a court and letting these people know, judges, attorneys, GALs, whatever, that they're being watched and they know what the corruption that they've already done. And just as simple as that, they don't want to be basically called out, or they don't want to be known as what they're really doing. And that's how basically you're getting your success, as far as, we'll just give them their kids back because we don't want to be a part of this. And that's what it is. And it just goes to show how much of all of this is basically fraud, and how much it is all just corruption. And that Warriors, from his project, I mean, it's just so smart how he thought of it all just down to the name, is literally doing that and just saying they're part of his project. And it's as simple as that. I mean, it's kind of stupid simple, but not because of everything that he thought of to do it like this. But still, I mean, it's crazy to think that one mom just went in and said, I'm a member of this. I mean, I don't even know if I'd have the balls to go in there and just say that, thinking it was going to work. You know what I mean? And then it worked that fast. And it's just crazy, but cool, because in this kind of situation, it's gotten to that point where I think it's just happening so much around us. And the fact that he has 12,000 members in just a short amount of time. I mean, it is happening almost everywhere you look, but we're all so scared and worn out from fighting that we feel like there's no hope or answer to any of this. And to have him come through and do what he's doing, it's like you said, that fresh breath of air of thinking there might still be a way, And again, it's not just your children you're trying to save. It would be saving everybody's children from this kind of situation, which everyone should be fighting for.
Yeah, these courts, I think they've just gotten away from it for so long that it's become normal to them. They're just, now that people are actually shining a flashlight on it and saying, you're not going to do this anymore. And it's working. And we've seen success in it.
Well, because if anything, if they continue this route, we're not going to have a family unit or anything to do with family in a few years from now, because it will just be so torn apart that it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I think the biggest problem that we run into with the new members is a lot of them are scared to come forward. A lot of them have been hit with these gag orders, and they said they're not allowed to talk. But my advice to you is just get out there and just scream to the rooftop, just yell as loud as you can. Because just sitting there being quiet is not going to get you anywhere. Hiring attorneys, trying to fix it for you is not going to get you anywhere. There are some good attorneys out there, very few. They're kind of hard to come by. I'm not really familiar with Vincent Davis and his work, but I am going to be looking into it more. I hope to.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he's been doing it for almost 40 years now. And if you just look, number one, on his YouTube page itself, and see the amount of knowledge that he obviously pours out, it's kind of like what Dave's doing with his time and effort, where he really doesn't get anything in return of it. And the fact that he knows what he's doing is for the right reason. Kind of like with Mr. Davis. I mean, if I would have known now what I know, if I would have knew then what I know now, I almost sometimes feel like I wouldn't have, number one, lost my youngest, and I would have already had my two older boys back home. But again, it's like, you don't really understand what is happening and really believe that it's happening until it is too late, and then their time clock is up. But if you really are to look at him and his knowledge that he puts out there and know it in the beginning of your case, I mean, there could be a great potential that you could almost save yourself from having it result in termination or adoption, just by the knowledge that he gives out. And that's number one, how I grew to him so much because of that. And then not only I tried doing shows with him and I was co-hosting, and then, now I'm doing my own show, but, he also was a product of, kind of like, not necessarily family court or CPS, but I mean, when he was born, his mother was from Japan and his father was from here, but they separated and his mom went back to Japan, but they kept him from his mother and he didn't see her again until he was 21. So he was raised by his grandparents, but knew that feeling of not having his mother in his life for basically all of, his life till 21. And so not only does he take a lot of the work that he does now and has been from that point of view, but he's fighting more or less for the feeling of knowing what it's like for a child not to have its mother in its life, you know? And so I feel like he's a little bit different in that aspect, where I feel like a lot of the other attorneys obviously end up being just about, you know, the money, or the fact that we all know at the end of the day, they, you know, take an oath to say that they are for the court first and the client second, you know, and it's like, you always just feel like, are they really truly doing their best to fight my case, or are they just trying to milk me for as much money as they can? You know, so that's another reason why I like to do the show under his platform, because anybody that hasn't come across him or all the knowledge that he gives out, I feel like is only missing out and will only benefit from knowing about him and all of the knowledge that he gives out. And it doesn't, you know, it's not going to help by saying that if anybody ever wants to try and retain him or hire him, of course, you know, you can always call in the number and try and get a consultation with him. And if you ever want to come on the show in the future, anybody that comes on as a guest, they get a free 15-minute consultation with him to see if it would even be an option of having him help you out in the future with anything of your case. So that's always good to know for people that want to come on the show in the future too. So we have about a couple minutes left here, and I really thank you for coming on and taking the time out of your day, because I know you're tied up with many tasks of Dave over there, which is, you know, always beneficial. But maybe for any parents that are just watching this for the first time or hearing anything about what we were saying for the first time, do you have any maybe last words of advice, or you want to give like your contact information if anybody wants to reach out to you?
Yeah, anybody. We kind of have it set up to where like we do this, like we have the pod leaders and they reach out to like whenever they join their first names. Like if your first name begins with the letter A, then you will contact me. I just encourage anybody, you know, if you want to talk, you can contact me. It doesn't matter what your name starts with. You know, my name's Aaron Burns. You can look me up on Facebook. Actually, I think on Facebook it goes Burns Aaron. But yeah, you can look me up anytime, and I'd love to hear your stories. And if there's some way we can help you in some way, I mean, we would love to hear it.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Thank you, everyone that's watching that has tuned in. And again, if you ever want to be a guest on my show in the future, maybe come on and share your story of CPS, family court, or anything for that matter. You know, we always love to have more people share their story to let everyone else know that this is truly what's going on in the world. And hopefully one day all of these podcast videos and work that we're doing with Dave and stuff can maybe put all of this to an end and save our children from this horrific catastrophe, basically. You know what I mean? So again, thank you for coming on. And if you ever have anything that you feel like our guests would want to know as far as an update or anything that changes in your case, I would love for you to come on again and share with everybody, because that's always good to know that what we are doing maybe eventually gets us somewhere with our kids. So I would love to have you in the future if that ever changes. But in the meantime, I'll be seeing you at throughout Dave's project there. So thank you again, and we will see you all next week for anybody that is tuning in. Thanks, Aaron.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
God bless.
Thank you.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against it, it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last ones left. Put your